Hi, here we are live in the Peter Darrell studio with about 30 of Scottish Ballet's dancers. So we're rehearsing Pennies from Heaven, which is part of our autumn season. We'll be back in about 10 minutes with the dancers, but for just now, here's some background on the work.
Here I am in the stores with Ashley Page and some of our company dancers to talk a little bit about Pennies from Heaven. Ashley, Pennies from Heaven is from a TV programme and it has a really iconic soundtrack that's integral to this TV programme. Why was this an inspiration for you?
I did see the television series in the 70s, but I must stress that the ballet isn't actually a ballet version of the story. It's just using the music, and it's the music that was the inspiration. I acquired a soundtrack on cassette in those days, and would just listen to it for pleasure, and didn't start choreographing for several years after that. And it was a few years after I started choreographing that I thought, at some point I'd really like to use this music as a piece. But it took me till 2008 to get around to it.
Thank you. Well, we're sat here at the bar, and this is part of the set design for Pennies from Heaven. You've worked again with Anthony MacDonald for Pennies from Heaven. Can you talk a little bit about the design of Pennies?
The design for Pennies is very clever, as is usual with Anthony. We wanted to try and show a cross-section of society through the costuming, and the 30s was a pivotal decade in social history, the beginning of a new era and the end of an old one. And so it catches British society at that point, where you still have very wealthy people, well-to-do people with lots of country estates and out on the town in their evening gowns and dinner jackets and looking fantastically sophisticated. But you've also got the then rising middle class coming up, people coming in from the suburbs to go shopping for the day in London, shall we say, or whatever. And then you've got the more working class, I suppose, level strata of society with the hotel bellhop, the cigarette girl from the cinema, and the barman, which Victor is. Cheers, Victor. And the set needed to contain as much of that as possible. We wanted it all to be interior, really. Knowing that part of that was a cinema screen, because part of it takes place in a cinema, and we could show exterior scenes through projections on the cinema screen. It's also a hotel lobby, marked out by the revolving door and people coming and going with suitcases, luggage. It's also the bar, a deco bar, which is obviously very in style in the 30s. At which people sit and socialise. So it's three different kinds of social space, really.
So we see this cross-section of society really in a series of group sections and vignettes, and if maybe we bring the dancers in at this point to talk a little bit about the characters that you created and where these characters came from.
Well, as I say, it's a cross-section of society. The other important thing to say about the piece is that I'm always looking for new ways to develop the dancers, and we just finished, when I started making Pennies, we were actually in the middle of the first tour of Sleeping Beauty, which we just premiered about 2 months before. So I was still kind of going with the energy of having created Beauty, and for instance Adam, who's sitting here, and Tomomi Sato, who he dances with in Pennies, had been my bluebirds in Sleeping Beauty, and I was looking for a way to extend that relationship in another kind of work, and so that's a good example of how I put the cast together. It's also useful I use making new work to bring the younger dancers on for me to get a closer relationship with them, people I haven't actually worked with directly before. I use that situation to do that, and Pennies is very much a case in point for that, as well as established dancers that I've worked with a lot, like Adam and Tomo. And others who I just want to take that relationship further.
Adam, can you tell us a little bit about these duets and that you dance?
Tomo and I, we have 2 duets. We I think we're the happy couple of Pennies from Heaven, just 2 regular people, suburban couple who are working in the city, and you can imagine going to the bar for a drink after work before they get the train home. So we have 2 really nice duets, and I think we're the epitome of that idea of, there's this bittersweet theme going through it, but that life is okay, you know, it's raining, but we're not bothered, it's going to be okay.
And this is reflected in the music that you dance
Absolutely,
to
it's
as well.
reflected in the music and the choreography and, you know, the lyrics.
lyrics.
It's really obvious. So.
Okay, working. And Brenda, how about you? How did you sort of, I know you didn't dance Pennies first time around.
Well, right, because I had just joined the company that year, and I remember watching it when it premiered, and I was like, oh wow, it's so exciting. The audience started clapping before it had finished. So yeah, it was really nice for me from that point. And yeah, now 3 years on, I'm doing one of the duets where my husband, he's got a wandering eye for women, and then in the end I get to him because I'm looking at other men, you know. Yeah, I think it's quite challenging in a way, especially having the lyrics in the piece. For me, I'm like, okay, concentrate, don't start singing, just listen to it. You know, yeah, it's quite fun.
So we'll move on to that challenging aspect of it. It is a light-hearted, sort of joyful piece to watch, but actually the choreography is really difficult. Can you talk to us a little bit about that, and maybe we'll bring sort of the dancers again to talk about their roles here.
Well, as I said just now, I'm always looking for ways to, opportunities to develop the dancers, so I'm always pushing them to do more, to look further, deeper into themselves and get more out of themselves. Job one for Pennies was to make an entertaining piece that would end evening mixed programmes, end the evening on a happy, light-hearted note, even though there's that, as Adam referred to just now, bittersweet flavour running through some of the lyrics, and echoing the sort of the decade, what was going on in that decade. But I didn't want to make a piece that was just like a kind of, soft shoe shuffle, happy, dancey thing, but that would also be challenging and worthwhile, repeating, and for new casts coming into it to grapple with it. So it is actually very difficult.
Victor, so how about your role as the barman? Is there sort of anything you enjoy particularly about the choreography?
I think the girl enjoys more than me because she's quite fussy and she keeps treating me quite bad, but I like it. But I think the music helps a lot because I think if you hear this music on the radio and CD, you will start dancing as a normal person. And and the style is, I find it quite ballroom dance, kind of like quite a fusion. Helps a
you
lot.
were trained in?
Yeah, I did ballroom dance. That's why when I joined the company, you asked me what do I think. I said that it reminds me a lot of ballroom dance, and it's quite easy to dance once you get it.
Yeah.
You feel good also dancing it, not the audiences.
Great. And anything about the challenge within the choreography for yourselves?
It's all an illusion. We look very happy and like it's very easy, but it's actually not. I think that most of the duets are like 2.5 to 3 minutes long, and I think for my second duet, I don't think I breathed for 3 minutes. So just a fixed smile, and it's much tougher than it looks, but it's a lot of fun, and it's fun to be on stage with everyone, sat at the bar watching other couples, and it's challenging, but it's more relaxed.
It flows very well because we have group sections, and then you go into your duet, you do, you sit here and then you go in. So it's not, you don't have that much time to actually think, oh my God, it's my duet next. You're busy doing other things.
It's much more fluid
exactly.
and part of the process. Well, thank you all for joining me here at the bar and the stores, and I'll see you next up in wardrobe. Hello, and here we are in wardrobe in the fitting room. I would like to introduce you to Joe McLean, part of our wardrobe team, Will Smith and Sophie LePan, some of our company dancers. Joe, can you tell us a little bit about what happens in a fitting for costumes?
Generally in a fitting, if it's from a production we've already done, the dancers will come in and they'll try on the costume and we'll just go through it and check that it still fits them properly, they're still feel comfortable in it and confident in it. And then if it's a member of the company that hasn't done the performance before, they may be fitted into someone else's costume who's already left.
Right, and what about, is there anything specific that you need to do to sort of make sure the costumes do fit?
It's just generally tidying up and stuff, but a lot of the time we'll have to take trousers in at the back so that they fit
Turn around first.
properly and you see a nice curve. And we'll maybe take trousers up for the length and things like that, and maybe the length of the cuff.
And what about female costumes? What are you looking at there? to make
Female
sure they fit?
costumes, with Sophie's dress here, we make sure that she's comfortable in it, and because it is quite it moves a lot, we make sure that it's securely fastened in places so that she feels confident that she can still move in it the way she wants to.
Great.
And hold her in.
And when we are coming to a new production, as a wardrobe department, you create something called a Bible. Can you show us a little bit about the Bibles from Pennies from Heaven?
Okay, this is the source book here that has sort of like ideas. So there's this sort of idea for the little sailor girl, and these are like from Anthony MacDonald, sort of his ideas of looks that he likes from the 1930s and sort of suiting and things.
Yeah, so
Tailor suits and like dresses and stuff, and there's this like cigarette
little girl that we have here as well.
idea. So that's the kind of ideas, and then the designs will come. And then this Bible here is like has notes of the character and who has made it and the fabric and stuff and where it came from, so that we know if we have to go back and make something that we have all the information there for it, with like fabrics and stuff.
Great.
And trimmings.
Let's have a little closer look at our characters here. So this is our one of the male characters. Who is this character?
I'm not sure, he's usually having cocktails in the bar.
I spend a lot of time
So he
there.
has like his smoking jacket on here with the outfit, so it's very 1930s style.
And what about the details? What are you looking to design for these details, or?
Well, that's the designer's process. We just do what they decide. So it'll be sourced like frogging and like the fabric for the lapel and the jacket and stuff, and buttons and things that will all be sourced with the designer's okay.
Right. Okay. And how does this feel as a costume to dance in? What does this add to your
Very
character?
nice. It feels very nice to dance in this. You just feel, I think the word is dapper.
Yeah.
That the word
Yeah,
you
yeah,
use?
it's the right word, yeah.
It just makes you feel really sophisticated and just fancy. So it's one of my favorites, definitely.
Great. And Sophie, this is quite an easy character. Talk to us a little bit about sort of dancing this and this sort of costume you have here.
Well, it's a very comfortable costume. It's very free and loose. And actually I have a lot underneath on. But
It's beautiful.
unless I use this dress and flick it around and use it, you can't see it. So
This is quite a floozy character,
Yeah,
isn't
it
she?
is.
Yeah.
So and I'm dancing on heels. My hair is loose. So I kind of play with all those things on stage.
They're quite sexy. And how do we know that these costumes sort of work on stage and under the lights? What do you do for that?
A lot of it comes from experience, like our boss and stuff knows, but we also have this here we can put on for you, and it's a flip light so that we can see how the fabrics will look on the lights on stage.
Let's have a look at these other costumes. This is the cigarette girl you're talking about. I know sort of in dance costumes you have to do quite a lot of work with pleating, don't you?
Yeah, these pleats would have to be heavily sewn in here so that when the dancer moves and it flares out, it falls back into place.
Okay, and what about this costume? This is an amazing looking, elegant costume. Is there anything, I'd like to turn it around to the back because it's a real wow factor in the back. How do you fit these so the dancers can still move in them?
It would be made specifically for this shape and stuff, and where it fits and things, and they have to be made sure that they'll be able to get into it. But so that the dancer feels secure and stuff, they have specially made leotards that you wouldn't be able to see under this design, so that they feel secure.
Okay, we're just going to move to our last costume here, and we have the sailor, and these are fantastic. We have a sailor girl and a sailor boy, and this is the sailor girl costume.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us this costume a little bit?
This costume's quite 1930s. She starts off with the little jacket on over the top and her hat, and then she takes it off for a number, and she has a little halter neck underneath. But if you turn it over here, you can see, so it makes it kind of a wee bit different.
That's really
Quite
lovely.
stylish.
And how about a piece in general? As a Pennies from Heaven, is it a fun kind of? How does it feel to dance this piece?
I think it's
so much fun.
Yeah, I think it's more
really
fun than anything. You just kind of get to be personalities really get to shine
It really
through.
helps with sort of the character
Yeah.
aspect of the
Yeah.
piece as well.
Mm-mm.
Great. Well, thank you very much to Jo and to Sophie and Will, and that's us in the fitting room. And I'm now going to hand you up to the studio where the rehearsal from Pennies from Heaven is happening live upstairs in that studio.
Good morning and welcome to Scottish Ballet's third live streaming event. My name is Hope Muir and I'm one of the artistic team at Scottish Ballet. We're joining the company this morning already an hour into rehearsals for our upcoming autumn programme at Glasgow's Theatre Royal. Scottish Ballet's artistic director and choreographer Ashley Page is rehearsing the dancers for his 1930s inspired work, Pennies from Heaven. This is the first day that the set for Pennies has been in the studio, and the dancers are just checking that they understand and know their involvement with it. Throughout the ballet, many different characters interact with the set, and unlike some ballets where the designs are merely decorative, Ashley and designer Anthony MacDonald have very much integrated the set into the choreographic language. Through the 16 songs, we are introduced to 9 couples who all represent a cross-section of society from the 1930s. Each of the 11 duets explores different types of relationships interpreted through the lyrics and the energy of each song, and also the dancers that they were created on. Right now, Ashley is just looking at a section where the boys are singing a song around a microphone. Ashley's decided now that we're going to look at a section of the ballet called Lou Stone's Favourites. Lou Stone was a British dance band leader and arranger, popular in the 1930s. One of the tracks used in Pennies is a medley of Lou Stone's favourite songs. As you watch the dancers rehearsing, you'll see that many other casts will be rehearsing in the back. We generally have the dancers learn many different roles within a ballet. So with Pennies, you'll see other dancers practicing roles that they might perform at a later date. Whilst you're watching Lou Stone's Favourites, it might be interesting to see how many of the songs you recognise. I can give you a clue that there's 7 in the medley. Sets will always affect the spacing in group sections for the patterns, and also the amount of space that the actual dancing space the dancers have in front of the set. You might recognize Victor from the previous interviews you saw. This is the sailor couple that we looked at the costumes earlier in wardrobe. Quemby Hirsch and Daniel Davidson are the sailor couple. We're going to go live to Emma Jane, who will be chatting with dancers Cara McLaughlin and Owen Thorne.
Okay, so a couple of questions, I think, you guys. So, Pennies from Heaven, you both are part in the same partnership, but you don't dance together, do you?
Unfortunately not.
Okay, so tell us about that. You have different partners, don't you?
We do, yes.
Yeah.
Owen does the first cast and I'm the second cast, but we do the same duet just with different people. So sometimes we can switch, and sometimes we end up dancing with each other, which is always good. But this occasion we're not. So.
And the role that we're dancing is sort of the Fred and Ginger of the with Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, who were famous ballroom dancing in the good old days, I suppose.
Movie legends.
Yes, and it very much plays into the duet and the ballet as a whole. That there are lots of sub stories and of various different people, and ours is more. I think you're in a beautiful dress. Is that right? And I'm in tux and tails and a white tie and very dapper.
Ooh. It's very romantic duet, and so very playful. It's almost like I'm so in love with him, and he's chasing me to catch me, and I think we have the old music hall theme going on with our duet, and it's always nice to put across the old-fashioned romance is still alive.
Lovely. So, Carrie, your dress?
Yes,
it's not a kind of dress you would wear every day.
No, not at all. It's like a long chiffon with a split to the knee, and very elegant and very 1920s, kind of like Charleston type, actually. Yeah.
And how does that affect your body? Does
It makes you feel elegant. You kind of like stand in a certain way, and you feel kind of like want to sway a lot, which we do in the duet a lot. But it's lovely to wear. You do feel very womanly in it as well, which is nice. It's very feminine.
Yeah. And the suit?
Yeah, so I wear, as I said, a tuxedo, tux and tails. And I guess it's really once you put that on that you feel the role, and once you have the lights and the darkness in the audience, that's when it comes alive. And I feel like Fred Astaire instead of just feeling like myself. Yeah.
In terms of your roles within the ballet itself, how do they sit? You know, there's a lot of other different couples. Tell us a little bit about that.
I think ours is quite the old-fashioned kind of glamour we bring to it. Maybe the kind of older couple that are very used to each other, but still kind of keeping their relationship alive. And there's many more quirky couples that go on at the same time. And our music kind of like signifies how we move as well. You kind of want to sing along, and I think that kind of helps when we're dancing actually as well. Yeah.
So did we explain that within the ballet that it takes place in a hotel lobby, right?
Yes.
And then at some points in a movie theater.
That's right.
Which is where the cowboys came in earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that we're sort of riding high in that culture, and so that there are people that serve us. Yes, and I think that we're the most elegant, which is always fun to be. It always is fun.
The upper echelons.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just going to pause there, guys. And we're going to let you see more of the rehearsal.
Now here's a story of Minnie the Moocher. She was a low-down hoochie coocher. She was the roughest and the toughest frail. But Minnie had a heart just as big as a whale. Minnie had a heart as big as a whale. Ice, spice, and squillion. Minnie had a heart just as big as a whale. We were starting to come up the way.
Well, welcome back to the rehearsal. We're just about to run the section called Lou Stone's Favourites now. As you can see, and you've been able to witness, a rehearsal can take any different direction at any different time, with new cast members, new dancers partnering each other. The dancers have to be able to adapt to any situation, and the amount of time and effort that goes into getting a piece like Pennies up on stage takes a number of hours of work in the studio. So just before we watch the company run Lou Stone's Favourite from Ashley Page's Penny from Heaven, I'd just like to remind you that all of our dates and what Scottish Ballet are doing is on our website at www.scottishballet.co.uk. Just look at what's on and come and see a show near you very soon. Thank you so much to all of the dancers and for everyone involved in today's live streaming. My name is Hope Muir, and have a very good day. Leave you with Lou Stone's Favourite from Pennies from Heaven. Thank you.
Now here's a story of Minnie the Moocher. She was a low-down hoochie coocher. She was the roughest and the toughest frail. But Minnie had a heart just as big as a whale. Minnie had a heart as big as a whale. Fight and squirrel. Minnie had a heart just as big as a world.